Welcome to Ear Biscuits, the podcast where two lifelong friends talk about life for a long time. I'm Link.
And I'm Rhett. This week at the round table of dim lighting, we're talking about Wonderhole Season 2.
Season 2, which episode 1 is out now on the Rhett Link channel, which has been branded as
Rhett Link's Wonderhole.
Wonderhole channel, because this is coming out every Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific. 11 a.m. Pacific.
Late 11 a.m. Eastern,
2
2 p.m. Pacific on Sunday.
No, you just said that backwards.
2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific.
Every Sunday for 6.
If you're there,
for the
you
next
know
5
where
weeks,
you're at.
For the next 5 weeks, because episode 1, we spent 100 hours on a raft, is out. We're going to devote this entire conversation to unpacking our thoughts about Wonderhole, because...
And before you click away, because if you're the kind of person who's like, well, I don't care. So if you know,
Please
you
care.
know. You know, no, I'm just saying, like,
Please care.
Some people are like, I like Wonderhole and I want to know more about it. And some people are like, I don't care about Wonderhole. I'm going to skip this episode. I would just say, even if you're not going to watch it, you know, I think that this is we're going to talk about something that obviously we're very passionate about and we put a lot of time into. And I think that if you've got something that you're working on or something that you'd like to bring into the world, even if you're not particularly into the thing that we've done, then maybe hearing people talk about the way that they think about something they created could be a benefit to you. But if you like Wonderhole, obviously this could be insightful and informative, and we do encourage you to go and watch that first episode if you haven't done it. This episode will mean that much more if you have watched the first episode of Wonderhole Season 2.
Yeah, so you're encouraging people who haven't seen the Raft episode to watch it.
Yeah, to pause this.
Pause this. I think another reason that this conversation is important is because our creative process that went into Wonderhole Season 2 is not just about Wonderhole Season 2. It's about
a trajectory.
Us cultivating, like developing craft and like building I'll use an analogy. We're building a craft that will take us forward into the future of our creative journey. And that's a focus on craft and a channeling of passions. And as you'll see, we had to make some decisions, and I think we learned to apply some more definitive creative decisions in this process that we are going to carry with us into every other project that we're going to be doing from here on out. Yeah. So this was a passion project. We put, it was the thing that arguably we were most passionate about over this past year as we're working on it, because all bets were off and everything was on the table in terms of how we could express ourselves and how we wanted to stretch ourselves and test ourselves and grow and also have fun.
Yep.
I think one of the big things that I took from season 1, my experience, was an emphasis on it being, we created a playground within which to have fun, and then trusted that would come through in people's experience when they watched it. Mm-hmm. I think in season 2, and maybe we'll talk more about this later, but I'll just say a little bit that I think in season 2, I tried to build on that and apply it, but I also discovered how constantly difficult it is to like have fun in like and even define what it feels like to have fun when you're creating things, when you're encountering challenges and making tough decisions and trying really hard and working really hard, like giving all of your energy to something and then realizing, well, this doesn't feel like a vacation. It's not that type of fun. So for me, there was this exercise in defining a new type of fun that is the hardest work I've ever done. and
I think for me,
bringing that gratitude.
We
into
talked
it.
a little bit about this, but for me, I'm having the most fun in our work when something that we conceptualized is actually coming together in the way that we hoped that it would. Like that's when, like it isn't
the satisfaction of it is fun.
Yeah, it's like isn't like, oh well, I'm laughing right now about this thing that happened. Like I mean that's fun, and I like those things that happen. But the premium fun for me is when it's like, oh, this is actually working, or the lessons that we hope that we would be learning, we are actually learning, and like the team is coming together cohesively, and like plans, like Hannibal from the A-Team. I love it when a plan comes together. It's like that's the way he would like take his cigar and give a little puff on it and smile. Like that is the ultimate fun for me, is when a plan comes together.
Yeah, and I'm more of a Murdoch fun kind of guy. Like, I love it when it's an effortless fly by the seat of your pants and whoa, this is happening.
Right, and there's a little bit of a give and take in that process.
I think I know we want to spend a good amount of time talking about how we shaped Wonderhole Season 2 through the lens of how it's different from the previous season.
Yeah.
But before we get into that and the specific ways that it's different and the reasons why and everything that goes along with that, I think we could just hit just a few highlights, maybe from Raft.
Yeah.
Since people have just watched it, and celebrate a little bit of that.
Okay, so in a really unexpected way, that episode, the Raft episode, and also another episode that comes later in the season, caused us to meet a relative of someone who works at Mythical in a way that we never anticipated. That's an interesting story we'll tell. We found a way to work with, in that first episode, someone who is probably the first or second, maybe second person that we ever knew from Los Angeles.
Oh, well, go ahead and tell us.
Ward.
Yeah, that's right.
How did we end up working with Ward, who played...
I don't remember what his name was.
What was his name?
It's
been a while since we
shot the pizza
it.
Delivery son.
Yeah.
I don't remember names. We never called him by his name.
His dad calls him by his name at the end.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it was cool to work with friends. He made
it's a very Italian name.
a cameo in Buddy System Season 2, but like this was like 2 days of working together, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Tell him the Nicole story.
Oh, you want me to go? You want to go ahead? I thought you wanted to tease
I was teasing the stuff after the stories.
Okay. So we needed a mansion for 2 episodes. Well, no. We needed a mansion for 1 episode. Later on in the season, we have an episode called "We Spent the Night in a $10,000 tiny home and a $1 million or $10 million or $100 million mansion." I can't remember.
We don't know what the numbers are. It's like we spent the night in a meager tiny home, and then the second night in a luxurious mansion.
And so we needed a mansion.
Yeah.
For that night in the mansion. And it turns out that we couldn't find one that was really close that we could use as a location.
Because the exterior really mattered.
Yeah, so we actually had to go pretty far outside of town, like at least an hour away. And we didn't go on this scouting trip. Jenna, were you there on that first scouting trip, or was that just Ben and TJ and Morgan who went to that?
Ben, TJ, Morgan, yeah. I couldn't make the first one.
Okay. So they go out there to tour this mansion, and the woman who is the owner of the mansion that is used mostly, no one lives there, it's used like as a venue to rent out for weddings and whatnot.
Event space.
So, and she's like the owner and manager of this space, doesn't live there. She's walking them around, and as like Ben just told us, he was like, man, this woman really reminds me of Nicole, who works on Mythical Kitchen. And then as they leave, Ben starts talking about it. He's like, I've never met someone that had like such similar mannerisms to Nicole. That is wild.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was Nicole's sister.
Which they found out afterward.
Yeah, we had no idea. I had no idea that they were going.
Because he didn't want to say to her, "You look and act just like
somebody I know." Because that's always
that's
a
not
little
the
bit
type of thing you
insulting.
want to say.
And I think she ended up saying when they were like Mythical Entertainment, she was like, Mythical as in Mythical Entertainment? And then she was the one who put it together and told them later that it was like, oh yeah, So we ended up shooting that episode that you'll see later in the season. I can't remember what episode it is, about the tiny home in the mansion. But
I think it may be the last episode. I don't remember.
Maybe. While we were there, or while they were there, Ben was like, there's a giant pond in the backyard of this mansion.
Might have been Morgan. I don't know. Morgan was kind of the location.
It's a big property. And we knew that we wanted to do this episode 100 hours on a raft. And if you look at all of the thumbnails, and we'll get into again, like why all the episodes are named the way that they are and why that strategy is what we employed. But if you look at every single one of those thumbnails, you see it's just a guy or two guys on a raft that looks like it's in the ocean. It looks like it's in a big space, right? So we knew we needed that vibe for the thumbnail and for the opening of the video. And again, we weren't going to set it up.
We weren't going to go out in the
We weren't going to set it up in the ocean because that's really problematic and expensive. And then there's other bigger lakes around LA. Not many big lakes. It isn't like North Carolina. Like we could have easily done this in North Carolina. But out here, the lakes, there's fewer of them, and the big ones are like really controlled. And so having a private pond be our lake was much more strategic, and it just turns out we were able to.
Nicole's sister had one right there.
Yeah, to shoot both of those episodes at that location.
2 for 1, so that was pretty good. The manhood mania of it all from this first episode was not real.
No, that is not a real story.
But it's based on, well, it's an amalgamation of our church summer camp experience kind of mixed with all of the like weekend retreat experiences in high school and in college through like church trips.
Yeah, which would sometimes be focused on manhood.
We would go to the story we tell about going camping with our youth group in high school, and Chad, sometimes you say his last name.
That wasn't high school.
That was middle school, right?
Yeah,
middle school. When he got lost overnight, and then everyone had to stay in their cabins because they were like searching for this kid, and then he buried himself in leaves, and woke up the next morning, and they found him.
And we talk about it all the time.
But we can't. He basically ruined our weekend. We had to stay in our tents.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Chad.
So that sucked.
Yeah. So it was an amalgamation.
He was
of all
found.
those things.
That's fine, but we had a sucky time.
And there, your dad wasn't like. There was never a point in time where your dad and my dad went to the same church.
No,
like that wasn't ever. So we kind of made up some of those elements. But again, the whole thing was fictitious, and I think it's very clear. And we'll talk about like why and we made those specific decisions. But I know people are like, because we put in real stuff into our stories all the time. Like every episode does have things that are true to our lives and our backgrounds in some ways, or a lot of them do. And then sometimes they just have things that feel like they could be real in order to accomplish something that we want to do with a story. Like you never read a Margaret Thatcher biography or watched a documentary or whatever.
No, but I did read a lot of, well, I won't say a lot. I did read some stuff about her before that day of shooting.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
So that I would have some...
You got caught up.
I had to have some stuff to know about her. Before we go into the next segment, I just want to quickly say, shout out to what's going on over on the Mythical Society. The special Make Rhett and Link Laugh, where you submitted your jokes and our funny crew, a few of them embodied your jokes, and so you can see if the jokes you submitted actually made us laugh over on the Mythical Society.
As business owners and fathers, and as just men who have hobbies and interests, we got a lot to pay for. all at the same time. And sometimes it would be nice if we were able to split things up.
And you know what? That's where Klarna is actually a really cool tool, because whether you're using the app or online, you can use it for large purchases and spread out the payments instead of paying all at once. And you know, I think back in the day when we were spending all the money associated with our business,
we were making all of the purchases
it would have
ourselves.
been, yeah, we were making all the purchases ourselves, and
cameras.
We definitely would have been Klarna'ing, if I am to make it a verb.
Oh yeah.
To split up those payments.
Because we were just waiting until we had the money for a camera or for a computer. I remember the first stuff that we bought, and
we'd be so much
taking some hits back
further ahead if we would have done that then.
Klarna is your smarter, everyday spending partner, and it isn't just about splitting payments. It's a way to help you shop smarter.
Oh yeah, they got the shop and compare functions, so you know that you're getting the right deal and the best deal. You know what you should have Klarna'd? When you went to Solvang and you were talking to me about that
the
clock?
The cuckoo clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't justify it. I couldn't definitely not justify it.
But if you could have spread it out the payments, maybe you'd be cuckooing right now.
I should have Klarna'd it. Well, you should be Klarna'ing your DJ setup. I mean, I saw those speakers you put in the creative house and the speakers that you're putting in your house.
Yeah, I kind of have a thing with spending money on that front.
Yeah,
so
you do.
It would be nice to know, and Klarna does help with reporting and budgeting. So it's not just splitting up payments or shopping for the best thing, but reports on your spending. So you have an added level of accountability and planning and budgeting for everything. So you're not just going wild.
Yeah, and I mean, Shepard just went to the summer program that he did all summer, and of course had to pay for that all at once. It would have been nice to be able to Klarna that. That's something to think about, Klarna'ing experiences.
Okay. And I like that you're using it as a verb now.
Yeah.
Which I think is because of my influence on you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They do have a lot on the app, so you should check that out. You can get a whole garden patio set up, which I like that idea. Maybe I'll be throwing a garden patio setup over there at the Creative House when I step away from my loudspeakers.
Yep.
Thanks to Klarna.
Whether you're paying now or later, Klarna helps you stay in control with no interest and no surprises.
Klarna is your everyday spending partner that makes managing money feel easy and stress-free.
You can use Klarna at checkout in the app and see how it fits perfectly into your existing shopping routine.
Download the Klarna app to get started or learn more at Klarna, that's with a K.com.
California resident loans made or arranged pursuant to a California finance law license, NMLS number 1353190.
Klarna balance account required. Klarna may get a commission. Limitations, terms, and conditions apply. Season 2 is different than season 1.
Well, one of the things that we saw a lot of people say about season 1, and we also agreed, was, what was that? Like, what were you, how is it a show? Because
and let me do
episodes feel disjointed and they feel different, and there's a completely different approach. Some feel like they're totally scripted. Some go into like a sci-fi place. Some just stay in the real world the whole time. They all have elements of BS that are obviously made up, but some more than others. Like, what was that?
Yeah, that was okay. And so what we wanted to do in season 2 was we wanted to hone in on what made it feel like more of a cohesive show. And you know what, let me just go through the list of that, because all of these things are interrelated that are different between season 1 and season 2, that being one of them. I'm gonna list all of them out.
Okay.
And then we'll just kind of go back through them. Yeah, in season 2, we wanted to make a cohesive season that felt more like a show. We wanted to tell stories. So there was a focus on stories. We wanted to improve our performances by developing a better approach to scripting. And we still wanted to maximize the reach of these episodes by working with and not against the algorithm. We had to reckon with the algorithm. And of course, you can kind of see where that's going. But
the cohesive show thing, people may take that the wrong way and think.
Let's go back to that.
What we mean by that is that we told a story over the course of 6 episodes, and that is not what we mean.
No, each episode stands alone, which is why we don't know which episode is last or first. We shot all of them, and then we decided what order to put them in afterward because it doesn't matter.
What Link means by cohesive show is that the approach to every episode is the same. So you can say the way that
There's
you would
an
describe
identity.
the show is, the way I would describe the show to people is, the title and thumbnail is always going to be something that looks and feels like a viral video that probably, or actually definitely does already exist somewhere on YouTube. Like it's a genre of viral video, like an extreme hide and seek, or one night in a tiny home and one night in a mansion. One star review, hotel reviews, like all of these genres of videos exist. So we're always gonna start with a title and thumbnail that looks like, oh, Rhett Link decided to make a video in that established viral YouTube genre. And then every single video starts as if we are really gonna do the thing that you clicked on, like, oh, they are going to a 1-star hotel, or they are going into a tiny home or a mansion. But then, somewhere near the beginning of the video, sometimes it's a couple minutes in, sometimes it's several minutes in.
Sometimes it's over the course of a few scenes.
Yeah, sometimes it's immediate and sometimes you kind of shift into the gray area. We go into the wonder hole, where I would roughly say what that means is that something happens in the world that we're in that's unexpected and sends the story in a direction that you would not have expected, but also when it clearly becomes something that, if you're paying attention, is made up, is a story, is narrative, not made up in like metaphysical, but is like, oh, now they're doing a story that they wanted to tell versus just doing the video that would have just been this vlog.
And we wanted to be consistent in our approach across all 6 episodes.
And so it always kind of happens, so you could describe it in that way. Like the way I just described it, you could describe all 6 episodes in that way. That wasn't the case in season 1.
No.
It happened. Sometimes what I just described happened, but sometimes it was completely a departure from that.
Yeah, it was experimental in a lot of ways. So that need for consistency and cohesion led us to grapple with genre shifts as one example. We did, because we played around with that in season 1 a lot. It goes to sci-fi, it goes to a musical, it goes to, well, I can't even remember all the other stuff.
Flashback to when we were kids. None of that. So this is where I know what it's like to be a fan of something, and so I think that people might be like, well, you did that in season 1, and I love that. My favorite episode was the sci-fi, and you didn't do any of that in season 2. So the reason we didn't do any of that in season 2 is because the goal for season 2 was for us to really to figure out what the next step is in the way that we perform scripted. And when I say scripted, it's loosely scripted material. And so we feel that genre shifts and musical numbers and some of that stuff a lot of times can
be a crutch.
It can be a crutch if you really want the story to move forward based on your performance. And that's what we're trying to develop personally.
Even if let's put performance to the side for a second. Even if we're placing an importance on sucking you into a story, sending you down a wonder hole into this story that you care about. Now there's a problem. What's going to happen? How is it going to resolve? We wanted to craft that story in a way that is the same from episode to episode that drew you in, and we wanted to see if we could succeed at that. So we wanted to focus on that part of it. And we wanted to serve the fact that the starting point was a YouTube video. So the genre at the beginning is docu-follow. That's how all of these YouTube viral genres are. Yeah. this is really happening. And there's just, it's either vlog mode or mostly like cameras shooting it, but it's reactive and the camera's a little bit behind. You know, Ben really committed from a directorial standpoint, and us as we collaborated, all of us on writing this thing, that it was informed by that genre. So even when the story began, the cameras that we had and the characters that we were, which was ourselves, needed to stay intact because it didn't make sense for that to shift just as a gimmick or to puff up your experience as a viewer. So we started setting ground rules before we really started writing, and that was, we're not gonna do the genre shifting thing. We're gonna stay in the docu-follow because that is the conceit of the entire angle of this season.
Right.
As you'll see that we lean into really hard from the top of developing this thing.
No make-believe stuff.
We also said no make-believe stuff.
Like no metaphysical, like the rules.
No magic.
No magic. So the rules in this world are the same rules that exist in the real world. Again,
so
like
wild stuff can
we
happen.
love fantastical stuff.
But
we
needs
love
to be
mystical, magical stuff. But
it can be unbelievable. What do we say? It can be unbelievable, but it has to be feasible.
I think we said it can be implausible or improbable, but it can't be impossible.
Okay.
That's what we said.
That is what we said, but it was kind of the same thing as what I just said in different words. But yes.
Yeah. So
implausible, but not impossible. Yeah.
Right. Because all the stuff is implausible that happened. But
yeah. Because we still wanted to be wild.
And again, that's not that's not a shift that we're never gonna do impossible stuff again.
Of course not.
It's just for this season. It was like let's set these parameters that then cause you to have to adapt, because a lot of times
as creators
we'll make a decision to be like, oh, something fantastical happens because it's fun, and it is fun, but then I think we end up relying on that to be like that's the thing that people remember about it, and we're like, but
it's really disjointed, and it distracts. It can distract from the story. I know that, and this created concerns for us that we still have a little bit. I mean, I know that a lot of Mythical Beasts loved episode 2 of season 1 with this, you know, we go into the future because we can live forever and we're having this like bromance and there's death and there's fighting and there's epic windy desert scenes and futuristic production value and awesome costumes. We don't have any of that in season 2. So it's like, well,
and I want to
shit. Are people gonna be disappointed? Is it gonna be experienced on a gut level as a step backwards?
For some people, sure. But,
maybe so for some
But
people.
I also think that, you know, we fooled you a little bit in season 1, episode 2, because the reason the production value is because we had access to that festival.
Yeah, but we could have tried to do that in season 2.
But again, it was like that. Yeah, it would have been really hard to do, and it would have taken like production value and cost, because again, just like season 1, season 2 is not necessarily making any money. I mean, it's not making back the money that we spent on it because
it's completely self-funded.
Yeah, so this is still like an investment in the storytelling. Our storytelling and the storytelling of our team to then apply it to what's going to happen next.
I'm very confident. I'm not second guessing our decision. I'm just like, you know, it's
anticipating certain.
Yeah, when it's like season 1 was better type of vibes. But I will point out the finale of season 1 there was basically no Wonderhole moment. And the whole thing, we were making gummy versions of ourselves that failed, and then we ended up going on this retribution journey of destroying my truck, you know? And it was all docu-follow, like literally. We cameras were just following us, actually doing the things we said.
Right.
And it was very compelling I really liked that episode. But it has nothing to do with the approach to episode 2, the sci-fi episode. So then you're left thinking, and then you've got this episode in the middle where we're talking about our deceased friend Ben, and there's like a musical with squirrels, and people are like, how the hell do I take this? And it's nothing had anything to do with anything in terms of approach.
We were throwing a lot of things at the board.
And except at the very end, it's revealed why it was that way. So we did answer the question at the very end of the season, but you were left feeling like, okay, I don't know how to describe this as a show except as a fever dream.
Yeah.
Which it was. But to do that again, like we knew we couldn't do that again.
Yeah.
And so we got really excited about leaning into this and about how it makes, I don't like to sound pretentious, but I do feel like it's a focus on craft and like not just doing what will get the biggest oohs and ahs, but will be as a season, it will be it'll be a cohesive thing.
Yeah. I mean, this is I think it all comes down to the like why we even do Wonderhole in general, like why we started doing this and why we decided to do season 2 in the way we did. You know, when you talk about the last episode of season 1 and it being all docu-follow and us just doing this ridiculous thing with the gummies in with your truck, there's a world in which that's the only thing that we do. And some people, again, we already saw the comments from last year. And again, this is just to kind of give you, this isn't trying to convince you of anything. This is just to kind of explain why we make the decisions we do about this element of our creative life. Is that some people are like, why don't you guys just do the vlogs? Like you did those vlogs a few years ago where we would just do stuff and we're not acting and we're just documenting something that's happening and we're just being ourselves. We know that those would be well received. We know that they would get a lot of views, and we know that we would be very good at them. Like we know how to be ourselves and be funny and be comfortable with each other because we've kind of made a career of it. But the reason that is not interesting, at least, I mean, I'm not saying we won't ever do something like that again, but the reason that is not what we're doing with Wonderhole is because that's what we do on Good Mythical Morning. Like that's,
it's close to that.
The bulk of, and we'll talk about how that creates a problem that then Wonderhole seeks to address, but the bulk of the content that we have put out on the internet over the course of our careers has been us just being completely ourselves and just reacting to stuff, right? I mean, probably at this point, just based on runtime, 99+% of the stuff that we've put on the internet is us just being ourselves.
But what it doesn't have is this intentionality of shaping and making something behind closed doors that then you say, here's a gift for you to enjoy that has been a gift for me to make. It's a totally different experience.
Right. And we, we're very privileged in that we have the opportunity to do it. That the thing that creates the 99% of the content works well enough so that that we are able to have this team and then have the ability to self-fund. I mean, not, significantly self-fund, but, self-fund something adequately enough to make what it is. It's still very cheap for what it is. But we have the freedom to do it, and we have this talented team to help us make it a reality, and then we have the platform with our, original YouTube channel to put it on. So, yeah, this is about that 1% of that. It means a whole lot to us. It's much bigger in our minds than 1% because it's why we got into this.
Right.
And it's interesting because it creates this challenge, and we talked a little bit about this last year, but when you know us from that 99% and you're like, oh, I like Link because he's this way, and I like Rhett because he's this way, and I like them together because they're this way, and you see us in that natural environment, us being ourselves, and that's where all the humor comes from, and then you see us playing ourselves still, Rhett and Link, but now we are doing some form of acting. We're trying to execute a story, a pre-planned story.
Right.
especially when we have pre-written lines and a tight script that we're following. Now all you can do, and it's funny because I recognize this, like there's stand-up comedians that I enjoy, and then when I see them in a movie, I'm like, they're not funny anymore. Or better yet, there are people who are really good at podcasting and are funny in a podcast sense, and then you see them do their stand-up routine, and you're like, they're not funny anymore, because I want to see them do the unhinged thing.
Right.
So I know what that feels like, and that's a challenge because you are perceiving people through this lens of all the other times that you found them funny. The challenge for us is that we start acting, and then a couple of things happen. Number one, you recognize right off the bat, well, these guys are not trained actors. It's like these guys are trained at making podcasts and GMM and internet videos, and we've never taken an acting class and that kind of thing. So it's like, as a craft, it's not something that we've invested in and developed. And then the second thing that happens is that you are just, and this is more significant ultimately, you're immediately comparing whatever's happening to us with how you think the real Link would have reacted to that, or the real Rhett would have said that or reacted to that. And so we thought to ourselves, okay, this is a really significant challenge. Like, you're not wrong if that's the way you perceive what we do when we play ourselves. So how do we address that? And we did it a little bit in season 1, but in season 2, the reason we decided to go this totally fabricated storyline, like as soon as we go into the Wonderhole, the entire thing is pre-written, and I'm putting quotes around written because none of it is tightly scripted. The whole thing is outlined. So a scene will simply be, you kind of know what you're going to say, I kind of know what I'm going to say, we kind of know where this is going, but let's play around with it and see what happens. And maybe what will happen in that process is we'll find a little bit more of who we actually are in the scene, and you'll say things that are, oh, that's the kind of thing that Link would have said, and maybe I didn't even know you were going to say it. And let's see if that draws out. I think maybe that could play on some of our strengths of being able to improvise and that kind of thing. And this is also a way that some TV shows are made. This is the way that Curb Your Enthusiasm is made, as an example, right?
Yeah.
So that was the kind of all of that I just explained contributed to how we got to the specific approach.
I knew for a fact that I was, we're our worst critics when it comes to our acting. But even if the things that we're describing, you as a viewer, so no, I think you guys are great actors. Like, we appreciate that.
Well, I think those people are a little bit. I'm not. It's fine. Some people think it's good. Some people think it's bad.
I think if you think
it's not great.
If you think that we're good or fine, I still think on a deeper level, if you're spending 5 days a week with us on Good Mythical Morning, there's this subconscious perception that you have to overcome. That doesn't happen with a lot of actors. And I also knew that I wasn't happy with my performances personally when I just putting words in my mouth. It's just not how my brain works.
Right.
And in previous projects, I did spend a lot of time developing techniques for memorizing scripts and, but not enough time, not like, Malcolm Gladwell hours to become a good actor. So we had to find a way to hack into the system and make it work for us. So we've never been trained as improvisers either, but we've been self-trained,
right?
And we do have those Malcolm Gladwell hours. How many is it?
10,000.
10,000. We certainly have that.
Oh yeah.
So well, if Curb Your Enthusiasm can do it, I think this will unlock something for us, hopefully. So we actually, and this was really hard to do, to follow through. It's one thing to say, well, we're going to practice this before we start shooting, but it was really hard to be in a room with TJ and Ben is basically acting like he has a camera, but he's just standing there looking at us, and TJ's sitting there on the couch like thinking about, okay, in this scene, this is the objective. this is the starting point and this is the end point. So this is where you've got to get. This is the point of the scene on the page in the outline. And Rhett, you're still Rhett, Link, you're still Link, but you need to understand what are your points of view and how does that get us from point A to point B?
And not just that, how does that create comedy?
And then arguably more important.
I would say more importantly.
How do you create comedy?
How do these two POVs
while getting from point A to point B?
Interacting in this way actually create comedy? And so season 2.
So we sat there in the room and we
experiment in that. Oh, so yeah.
We sat there in the room.
We made up scenarios.
We made up scenes and Ben walked around and his eyeballs were the camera. And TJ was looking at the outline and like maybe thinking of things that like, well, we would just do this scene. And I can't even remember what the scene was.
Well, the first one was
we were picking up
that we were in a cave because we knew we would never shoot in a cave because Ben's claustrophobic. So we were like, let's waste one of these scenes. And it was like,
right. Even though we did in season
And this
1.
is before we made the decision for it to be.
He said no more caves. We were like, all right, we'll pretend to be in a cave.
This was going to be like a real spelunking situation. And this is before we said that it was nothing that was impossible. And so we kind of had this idea that maybe there would be like a weird species of person that's inside this cave, like cave people kind of situation. But we were setting up and we were going through the stuff that we had brought, and then we realized that something has been taken from us. So, but the scene,
right.
And we actually ended up transferring this scene structure into
the tiny home
episode, where there is the conversation about what we brought, what
I
I brought and what you brought.
So yeah, we were having this completely improvised what you brought, what I brought.
And then there was
mechanics of realizing something's missing.
And then there was another
And there was a what's that noise moment or something.
Yeah.
And so then what we would do, just to step through that process, is we would like do it. And it was so hard to say, okay, we're actually gonna do this. We're gonna create our own acting class.
I was very excited about it. I kind of had to be an advocate for this, for the entire team.
This was
because
you
everybody was
really
like,
hard.
Don't you already know that you can do this? And I was like, no, we're not.
Right.
This is not what we've done before. This isn't what we've done before.
It was very valuable because then we'd sit there and we'd get to the end of the scene and we would look at each other and we'd say, well, I mean, how about that? And then Ben would say, well, I felt like, well, maybe you were kind of getting a little actorly here. I didn't believe this, or there was a lot of just standing and talking. I feel like if you incorporated more action. And then TJ was like, when you said that was funny. Let's do it again. Keep that. But what about at this point, you could play around with this idea. So he wasn't pitching a line per se as much as, he might pitch it as a line and then we would turn it into a concept because I didn't want to put words in my mouth. And then we would do it again because that's when it gets even more difficult, is that if you're going to do it a second time, then you start to have more things that you're trying to recreate. And at least in my brain, I'm devoting energy to like the honest moments and just going with it and hitting now more anchor points of, oh yeah, I gotta say this because that was funny last time. Or we need to have this moment because it was funny last time.
But we did make a note after we did that
it started to work.
And Ben was on the same page, but it was like, we'd really like to shoot this in a way that we could just throw multiple takes together because sometimes the first time something happens is the best time, but then we need to get something else and maybe something new happens and maybe those two things. And so it became a bit of an edit exercise. We had another scene that was about like a checkers game where we were like making up the rules and one of us didn't know the rules or something. But
I get nervous talking about this because now I'm like, is everyone who's listening, when they watch the rest of the season, are they going to be thinking even more mechanically about our acting? So don't do that.
Well, think what you want to. I think that we're on a trajectory. We are headed to a place. We are trying, we have a lot of ambitions and a lot of projects that we want to get to that require a certain skill set, a certain thing to be in place for us to be able to execute them. And Wonderhole season 1 and season 2 are like stops along the way. They're like snapshots in that process. And are they like a product that we're proud of? Of course. Like we think many people will really like it. But to us, it's not like Wonderhole season 1 and season 2 are the end thing that we always wanted to create. They are a means to an end that leads to the next thing. And when I look at what we did in season 2, I see leaps and bounds in terms of that system of our interaction and our performances. But I also see places where I'm like, well, that didn't work. Totally. That wasn't funny. It wasn't as funny as it could have been.
That was stilted.
That still came across like it wasn't really me. But, you know, you can't do 25 takes until you get it right. Sometimes we got time to get 1. Sometimes we got time to get 2. And so you put together in the edit the best of what you've got.
Across multiple takes.
Yes.
I mean, we might do something 3 times. And then sometimes we would break for lunch having moved on, and then we would talk about how we realized that we didn't get it. And that we really felt like we needed to because that was too important. And then we would have to go back. We went back.
We did that for episode 1.
We did that for the Raft scene. The whole Margaret Thatcher exchange, which...
When I'm setting the tent up.
When you're setting the tent up, really worked. But we did 3 before lunch, and it didn't work. And then it worked less and less. And we just didn't feel good about it. And we were having a mopey lunch. And then once we were honest about that, and it's hard to allocate time you don't have to go back for something, but I'm so glad we did. When you talk about each season be a stop in the road, I would say there was multiple stops and assessments within season 2 because we started seeing edits of earlier episodes while we were planning to film later episodes, even though there was only 6. And we made some major adjustments across the course of the 6 episodes, having seen, let's see, because the first one we shot, Raft was not the first one we shot. It was...
The tiny home.
Tiny home. Like Raft might have been the 4th one we shot.
Yeah, but just the tiny home parts of Tiny Home Mansion.
We were watching Tiny Home and our performances, and then we were figuring out how we needed to rewrite things to allow us to have better performances. It wasn't just about getting better at performing. It was about getting better at outlining and writing so that it would free us up in the right places. And like, for example, to identify, we had to get better at identifying what was supposed to be funny without it being about lines.
Yeah, it's not about jokes.
And so we learned a lot about defining our points of view and how we interacted with each other. And scenes got better. And then we kept putting off, at least we kept putting off 2 episodes because they were harder to produce. One of them had a big ass slide and a deep ass hole and all of this stuff. And then we took everything we were learning, and then it started to dawn on us that this last episode that we kept pushing off was completely broken. And we had to throw it away entirely. And having written all 6 episodes before we shot anything, we canned it entirely.
Well, and to be specific, because I think that the story sounds very funny, and I was very excited about doing it, but then we can talk about the flaws. But so we have an episode where we buy an abandoned storage locker, and then we start opening stuff that's in it, because that's a genre of video. We literally feature the Lamborghini that is in every single one of those thumbnails in our thumbnail, which is just such a ridiculous thing we can talk about in a second in terms of thumbnails.
But not in the video because no one else puts it in the video either.
Yeah. But in our version, we were going to start opening boxes and realized that the only thing in the boxes was lotion. Just the whole thing that we got was just lotion. But because we had made some commitment to use everything inside there,
right,
we were going to have to get through all this lotion. And so we were going to have this idea to open up a lotion park which is like a water park, but it's lotion, and that was gonna simply be one of those giant inflatable slides.
Which we were gonna actually build.
And in testing it, we were gonna lather a naked Link up in lotion, and he was going to come down the slide and then skip across the ground and then go into a hole. Just like baby Jessica, if you're old enough to remember baby Jessica, who got stuck in the hole when we were kids. And it was a huge news story when this baby got stuck in this well, this pipe.
For days with like 24-hour news coverage.
And we were literally looking into contacting baby Jessica because the idea was gonna be that Link was gonna be stuck in this hole. And
naked,
then we were gonna be,
lubed.
He's gonna be stuck in this hole full of lotion. So every time they try to send something down to him, like the fireman like sends a rope, it just slips out of his hands because he's covered in lotion. And I keep putting lotion in the hole because we gotta keep using the lotion.
You keep making it worse.
But what we start realizing,
convincing me is a good idea.
But what we start realizing is that we're getting famous or we're getting relevant. Like people are talking about us in a new way, in ways that they don't talk about us anymore because we're on the national news because you're stuck in this hole. And so then I'm like, we gotta milk this. And so we create more of a story. But then we were like, we were gonna have baby Jessica like on the news and stuff anyway. But then we started realizing it was gonna have you in a hole the entire time. Yeah. And what we've been learning
my strengths.
What we've been learning over the season is that, first of all, we had unnecessarily and unintentionally written ourselves into confined spaces. And I think part of this is because a lot of these YouTube videos and these genres, like being on a raft for 100 hours, that's a confined space. You're outside, but you're on this raft. Being in a tiny home, again, these confined spaces. And we're like, why do everything seems really small? Let's not put Link in a pipe.
Outdoors. Like the amount of confined yet also outdoors.
Creates all kinds of problems.
Creates so many problems and frustrations and like, I mean, Jenna, I'm surprised you're just not moaning over there. Like all of that stuff, you worked on all the logistics of it. So when we told you we were scrapping the lotion slide whole episode.
Well, I think everybody was relieved.
It had to be relieving.
Oh yeah, definitely. In not just the outside, the finding the proper lotion combination that was safe for the environment.
Yeah, to put a bunch of lotion outside on a slide.
You would need a stunt person to go down,
right.
Like the insurance for you to go down that slide that we had.
We spent all our insurance money on season 1 during that parachute.
We did.
Yeah. So we rewrote that and we were like, all right, we're gonna apply everything we know. This is gonna be in a predominantly indoor space that we can control. We can be efficient about our timing. And then we can craft each scene to be funnier now that we've learned stuff than the stuff we wrote earlier. And that ended up being the new version of We Bought an Abandoned Storage Locker, and you'll see where that goes.
Which I think is episode 4 in the season.
It arguably, it has maybe the funniest moment or scenes. I mean, it
depends on your sense of humor.
Depends on your sense
I would say
humor.
it has the most shocking.
Yeah.
It has 2 of the most shocking moments of the season.
Which is why that's actually why we chose that one, even though it's not episode 2
for the premiere.
We chose it for our ticketed premiere, so we could watch it with people in the room, just to see how people react to it.
I think this raises the bigger sort of story behind all of this is that if you had this conversation that we're having is like if we could hear ourselves having this conversation 10, 15 years ago, we'd be like, what are they talking about? Like, what do they mean genres and YouTube genres, and why are they doing it this way, and why aren't they just making a show? And I think this is a question that we have for ourselves and a lot of fans have for us is, guys, if you just want to tell a story, why don't you just tell a story? Why don't you just make a season of a half-hour comedy that is what you guys want to do, that tells a story over 6 episodes? Like, just do the thing that you think that you seem to be working towards. And I think that this is the problem of the modern YouTuber, right? If you are making your living primarily on YouTube, And again, like I said, we're not getting in the, just to be honest with you, we're not getting in the black on Wonderhole. But we don't need to get too far into the red on it either. Like we do need to make money back through AdSense when people watch these videos.
Right.
But it takes getting a couple million views on an episode in order to really make that make sense, which doesn't always happen, usually doesn't happen. And we want it to be something that people actually see. And so we play this game, and we did it a little bit in season 1, especially in episode 1. Where it was like we took a first class flight or whatever because that was a genre. But we decided we're going to do that on every single episode in season 2 so that there's no, we were really proud of like the We Drank a Cloud episode of season 1. But
we couldn't even call it that, which is the perfect title for it.
But nobody cared because they're like, what are we drinking a cloud? What do you mean?
The algorithm just didn't show it to people and it didn't get the clicks. But red versus blue, whatever we called that one, we spent 24 hours in red and blue rooms.
Or whatever it was, yeah.
And then
thumbnail.
And that thumbnail was half red, and Rhett looked amazingly red, and half blue, and I looked amazingly and completely blue, was irresistible.
For some reason.
To click on.
That just worked.
And we had to reckon with that because everything that we said we wanted to do, but yeah, we need to defray the cost, and we want as many people to see this as possible, and we're not asking permission and pitching Wonderhole season 2 for somebody to fund. We didn't have any meetings. We followed through
because
on
we would
the video where we said
still be talking about it with somebody right now versus having it come out for you to see. Like that's just the reality.
We followed through on that video before season 1 called We're Done, where we said we're not asking permission to make things. We're making things and then we're figuring it out. Now, I'm a bit frustrated that we're still figuring out the financial side of this, that season 2 still isn't paying for itself, but maybe it will. You know, like the ticketed premiere event helps with that. And this strategy of working with the algorithm sets it up to, rake in some AdSense and also expand our audience. So that's a win-win. We just had to get over the bitterness of having to play nice with Mr. Algorithm. And we said, you know what? Let's stop flirting with it. Let's just go all the way. And each episode, we're not going to greenlight an episode of this show unless we know the title and the thumbnail.
And it has to be a title and a thumbnail that
we know is going to work.
We have every reason to believe we'll get clicks. Now maybe things have changed enough. Like we made all these decisions about a year ago. The algorithm changes. Maybe some will work better. Some will work better than others, whatever.
But here's what we were tapping into. Someone, it may be Mr. Beast. It may be Ryan Trahan. It may be, there's so many of these YouTubers that they do invent genres that are irresistibly clickable. It's like, I liken it to kind of like it's like the Michael Bay effect of movies, you know? It's like, oh, I gotta see that because of that explosion.
Right.
You know this. But what I didn't fully appreciate was then other creators will do the exact same video. The only difference is it's them doing it. The title will be exactly the same. The thumbnail will be exactly the same, except it will be their faces instead of somebody else's.
Yeah.
And it works. The algorithm just like slurps it up and then spews it out to everybody. Just, the mindless clickability of it.
And what we would never do.
Powerful.
What we would never do, and I think you understand this.
We can never make those videos.
We would never, we don't want to. Like we're not
it's just not exciting.
We're not just doing this just to get views, but we're doing it to tell the story and to work on, this approach and develop our craft.
But it was a tough pill to swallow.
We gotta do it on YouTube.
And we had to tell the team, it was like, it was tough for us to convince ourselves, but then we were like, then talking to Stevie and then like figuring out, okay, can we keep our artistic integrity and do this? And we were like, yes, let's focus on the craft of it and let's let's take people down the wonder hole and then we have to earn their retention. Is our story good enough once they realize that it's not what they clicked on to keep them there? And that's on us.
Well, and let me just say,
to an extent.
Well, let me just say, I think that is going to happen for a certain person, and that is the person that we're actually trying to reach with our storytelling. And I don't think that's the average person.
So we don't know what the algorithm is going to do with that.
Well, no,
and how many people.
What I mean specifically, I'm not talking about how the retention affects views. What I'm talking about is one of the things that is going to happen in an episode, in the comments on an episode of Wonderhole is going to be, I wish you guys would have just done the thing that I clicked on. I wish you had just done it, because that would have been funnier to me. That would have been better to me.
And that's what I wanted when I clicked.
Right. And you have every right to think that. We're not trying to make content for that person who thinks that. We're trying to make content for the person who would prefer the half-hour comedy, intact, 10-episode scripted show from us that we hope to eventually make. But this is the way that we begin to cultivate the audience that actually wants that from us. And I just think that if that was what the audience wanted on YouTube, then there would be more shows on YouTube that look like shows on these other streamers.
Right.
And there aren't.
But there aren't.
Because the way the algorithm works is that it causes people to make individual decisions about individual videos. People they don't commit to seasons of things in the same way, because you never know what the first video you're going to find is. It's just a different algorithm, and we're incredibly thankful for it, and we're actually really good at exploiting it, and we've made a career out of it. But we have ambitions to do things that don't fit within the prevailing forces of that algorithm.
So let me tell you what we did at the very beginning. Once we made that decision and communicated that to the team, and then let me talk about the conundrum that creates that we're currently in. Once we made that decision, we sat in a room and people brought their research of viral genres in the last year. That it's more than one video where something goes extremely viral and then there's all these copycats that do the exact same title and thumbnail. At a certain point, very early in that process, you don't even have to watch the videos at all.
Well,
you're just watching. Well, I didn't.
No, I'm saying in most cases, you don't want to subject yourself to them because it feels like a piece of your soul leaves and will never come back.
I know you did a good amount of that. I know Stevie did a good amount of that, and TJ did a good amount of that.
Yeah.
And so you came back with these lists, and we sat in the room, and then we were like, okay, that's when it was like, are we really going to do this? Because it was these. I don't know. It just felt like my soul was just melting through the floorboards when I was reading the titles that were going to be the titles of our videos. But what we did was we said, this is a clinical exercise based on a decision we've already made. And we started to rank the effectiveness of these, which had the highest probability of performance based on everything we could assess.
Yeah.
And then we narrowed it down to 8. And so having those titles, then we started saying, all right,
what could happen?
These are just starting points for a story. You got these 2 characters that are endeavoring to do this thing. And then we have our ground rules of like no magic, no genre shifts by this point. So we just started writing what's the implausible but not impossible things that could happen that could delight and surprise you and be fun for us to make within our means. So there's all these parameters, but it's like, okay, this is actually... This compartmentalizes in a good way where you can channel your creativity, and we started writing and we got to the point we're at.
Yeah.
But it was, it was a rigid commitment to that starting point. And the conundrum now is what you were talking about a second ago. And that's, are people going to, oh crap, I can't even remember the conundrum. How are people going to step up and respond to what we're doing? Or are no, that's not it. That's what you were talking about before. Here's the new conundrum. Are we going to reach the people that want the stories we're telling in spite of the appearance of it?
Because
are they going to
typically
judge the
people-
book by its cover and not read the story?
Another way to say that is typically people who are the kinds of people who would appreciate the sorts of stories that we want to tell are not the kind of people who click on titles and thumbnails
Exactly.
like we're using for Wonderhole Season 2.
So
what we're relying
have we shot
on,
ourselves in the foot?
Well, no, because I think that
I don't know.
we have a lot of people who've watched us for a long time who, when they see us, they see a title and thumbnail like that from us, they know they didn't really do that. I mean, in fact, if you look at episode 1, look at a lot of the comments on episode 1 of season 1.
Yeah,
And people are like, I saw
most expensive.
I
first
saw
class flight.
when you guys did this that you probably weren't going to do it in the way that everyone else has done it, because you never do everything else in the way that somebody else has done it.
And some people were like, I couldn't believe you did it, but I clicked anyway. And then I was surprised. So
we're kind of relying on that. And again, this is
I think that's the other reason why we're talking about it here is to
Yeah.
get some sort of alignment so that like the titles and thumbnails don't turn off the fans of, well, Ear Biscuits or the extra from GMM stuff that we do.
Yeah. I have faith, not necessarily that this season is going to get a lot of views. I have faith in the process. I have faith in us leaning into this type of storytelling, doing it in the way that is most strategic on the platform that we currently have the most access and control over, and doing that to find the people that want to see this kind of thing from us and then are expecting the next thing from us and the next thing that we'll work on. And again, a lot of those people also watch Good Mythical Morning, right? And a lot of those people have learned that, yes, they're testing chicken sandwich. They're taste testing chicken sandwiches today. I'm not really. Now, there's two types of fans. There's multiple types, but there's two general fans of GMM. There's the fan that's like, I'm showing up because I want to hang out with you guys every day, and whatever you do, it's going to be funny, and I'm going to be into it.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, certainly there's certain things that you do that I'm more interested in, and I'm more likely to click on. But I'm kind of there because I'm committed to the show and you guys' friendship, whatever. And then there's the people who are like, oh, they're tasting chicken sandwiches. I literally want a chicken sandwich right now, and I want to know which one they think is the best. And the fact that I think that they're funny enough to make this interesting causes me to click on it. There's a lot of people like that, as judged by the fact that if we eat chicken sandwiches
discrepancies
versus play Mystery Countdown Theater, the views will be like 2x on the chicken sandwiches. So there's like twice as many people in that camp. But I think that if you've been watching this show for a long time, that we make the show for those people who are coming back. But we have to also take into account the people who only come for the chicken sandwiches, because we have to make money doing it. Like, it has to be a business that is sustainable. And it has to, and also we think that those chicken sandwiches videos are pretty damn entertaining. And even if you're not into chicken sandwiches, it's still a great foil for us to do the things and be ourselves. But we're slowly building that group of people who are like, I'm there because I like the way you guys interact with each other. There's also a group of people who are like, I'm there because I like the things that you guys create. I remember those local commercials back in the day, or your sketches or your music videos or whatever, and I like the things that you make, not just the way you talk to each other. I like the things that you make.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not doing it for those people. Like, we're doing it, let's be honest, we're doing it for ourselves. Like, we want to make this kind of content. That's why we got into this. This is our childhood dream. We made a blood oath about it in a field when we were 14 years old. But we have to have an audience there to watch it, and I trust that they'll find it. And I trust that enough people will find Wonderhole Season 2 to kind of come on board and be like, all right, what else you guys got? Because we got something else. We got something else we're already working on.
Yeah, that is what I'm so excited to enjoy the rollout of season 2 of Wonderhole because of how it will impact what we do next and how it won't. what it won't do is it's not going to impact what the next project is, because we've already decided. It's going to impact more. It will impact most likely how we go about it. You know, I'm sure there's a lot that we'll still learn in this rollout, and all the questions that we've raised over the course of this conversation that will be answered. But we already know what it is we're doing next, and we're excited about that. And I think you will be too. So yeah, I plan to enjoy it. That's the other reason why we didn't just want to sell tickets to a premiere in order to defray the cost. We want to do it for the experience. And I think that was the first reason. So as of the recording of this, we haven't gone on them yet. But I'm very excited about that, to experience it in a room. But also I look forward to experiencing it with you if you're a Mythical Society member.
Yeah.
Early and ad-free right there. You get the first look at it. So the comments that we'll read there from Mythical Society members will be the first
response we see.
Online comment responses.
And that's on the Wednesdays before the Sunday.
We'll be there.
Every Wednesday.
Reading every single one of those. And then I look forward to experiencing the comments and the reactions on social media to it. And, I think I'll approach it with curiosity,
Yeah, I'm kind of beyond like
and enjoyment.
I've been surprised and had my expectations subverted so many times in this job that
Right.
I've kind of I'm more detached from the outcome than I've ever been. Probably a combination of having done it for so long, a little bit of maturity, a lot of therapy. So I'm just more like, okay, this will be interesting to see how people react to it. But thank you for indulging us talk about this.
And thank you for going down the wonder hole with us each week for those 6 episodes. Let us know how you experience it. And we'll talk at you next week.
Hey guys, listen, I drink my coffee every single morning on the way to work. And this morning I'm listening to this episode, the latest one about you guys with the pills and the chewing. And I legitimately almost spit my coffee out 2 times. And because I just was going about my morning, just, doing my thing. And then you say something just so unhinged. I almost just spit it out twice, so I just thank you for that, and I might actually even listen to this episode another time, because, you guys are I love you so much, but I just, thank you. It's ridiculous. Love you guys, bye.
Watch Try to Make Rhett Link laugh on the Mythical Society now.